All right. Welcome. All right, welcome. Today, we'll do a little bit of work in standing to get started. So, you can just come to this side. I'll be over here. So, let's get us lined up. Always further back than I think. Okay, good. Okay, so starting with your feet really solid into the floor and straight side to side, and take all the actions of the foot that we'll maintain throughout the whole class. So we'll talk about the four corners of the foot being grounded into the floor, and then all of the toes lift. And that may take your balance one way or the other. Try to feel for balancing even front to back on your foot so that there's equal weight distributed through the ball of the foot and the heel of the foot. And once you kind of play around with that and feel really solid, hold still at the center with the toes lifted. What's happening is the arches are engaging also. And to maintain that, as we do some neck stretches in standing, ground the big toe and see if you can leave the other toes up, or if the toes are better to relax, you can do that also. But keeping that big toe grounded along with the ball of the foot. And then broaden across the foot to the outside edge, and you could ground the pinky toe on the outside edge. There's always a funny thing that happens with the hands at the same time to try to help kind of bring all of your attention and focus down to the feet. That's good. And then we'll do the same things with the hands. We'll broaden the hands, so bring some conscious action there. So the hands and the feet are both broadened and lengthened to start. Good, and this has an effect of turning on lots of other muscles in the pelvis and in the shoulder girdle. So see if you can check in and notice that the glutes are on, the pelvis feels balanced. The action that will balance the pelvis even more, if you notice that there's a big sway back, is lifting the front hip bones. And slight bend in the knee. Good, and then notice if the rib cage is protruding forward, and see if you can activate the upper abdomen to bring the ribs right on top of the hip bones. And then broaden the upper back and shoulders simultaneously. And with the hip bones and the shoulders, there's sort of this toggling between the two. So if you broaden and lift your shoulders a lot, your front ribs will jet forward. And if you contain your ribs and your shoulders dip forward, so you're trying to find the place right in between the two where both actions are happening simultaneously. Good, and then the hands are broadened and the head is ramped, so the chin is moved towards the center of the throat. There's extension up through the back of the crown. Really good. So this is our stable, steady standing posture. Stable, steady standing posture. Good. And we'll just stand here for a few deep breaths, connecting to your breath pattern, seeing if you can have a breath that fills from low in the belly into the side ribs and then into the upper back. And we always sort of hit these foundational things at the beginning of class because they'll continue forward with us for the whole class. So we're really setting the foundations for everything else that we'll do. And this breath pattern is maintained throughout class. Good. And then breath rhythm, just noticing how long is your inhale, how long is your exhale, and what are the transitions like. Good. If standing for a long time is feeling like it's too much or you're fatiguing, you can come into seated in the chair and hold the same actions in the chair. And then we'll move into some neck mobility. We'll start with a head tilt. So with a tilt, your ear goes to your shoulder, and then inhale, head comes up to center. Exhale, head tilts the other direction. So inhaling up and exhaling down. And if you notice on one side or the other, or both, being particularly tight, you can hold on that side for a few breaths. And really reach the opposite hand down in the other direction to add even more stretch and bring attention to the exhale, allowing for some release and softening. Good, and keep moving in between after you hold for 2 or 3 breaths on one side, switch, and reach the opposite fingers down. Good, and back up to center and back and forth a few times. Good, keep moving in this way and syncing the movement to your breath. And noticing as you continue with the neck, is anything shifted in the lower body? And that is how we start to begin to notice our habitual tendencies with our posture. Are you pitched towards the front of your feet? Are your toes gripping up? What are your knees locking out? How can you regain all of that foundational stability, broadened and lengthened foot, legs lengthened in 2 directions, balanced pelvis, extension up through the back of the crown, and that will kind of set the upper body and then back to this head tilt. Okay, and we'll bring head down into the right again, reaching through the left fingertips, and then turn your chin down towards the clavicle. So head is really heavy, you're reaching the opposite direction, and that turn of the head brings a little bit more stretch to the back of the neck. Several deep breaths here. You can even look down at your torso and sort of notice visually what your breath pattern is doing. And is there a possibility of softening anywhere in your physical posture? So anywhere that's gripped up and tight, is there a possibility that you could soften it and stand in a little more easeful way? And see if you can turn a little bit more towards the clavicle and let the head get a little bit heavier. So often with neck stretches, we want to just kind of give it a twist or a crank and get some relief, but really the best way is slowly and gently holding some deep stretches for several breaths, 5 to 10 breaths, feeling that little by little, the nervous system being calm allows for the muscular system to release and let go. If our breath is agitated or our mind is agitated, as we're trying to get some release in the stretch, there's going to be the resistance that is maintained by the active nervous system still present in the muscles. So holding in one position for several breaths allows for the softening to happen. Okay, we'll turn back towards the front and hold your head in a tilt for a little bit longer, and then tilt the head up and back until you're feeling a stretch along the front of the side of the throat. And again, if you're beginning to fatigue in standing, you're always welcome to take a seat. We're simultaneously working the stability and strength of the lower body as the mobility of the neck. So simultaneously feeling your feet solid in the ground and the sensation of stretch in the neck. A few more breaths here. And then we'll turn back to the front and lift the head out of the tilting position and take a few breaths there and just let the stretch settle in and notice the difference side to side. So if a little bit of movement in the neck would feel good to sort of integrate, good. And then we'll be holding for several breaths in 3 positions on the other side. So letting when you're ready, your left ear move towards your left shoulder and reaching the right fingertips down. And so you'll notice your initial stopping position. So it may be here, and then over the course of the pause that we'll hold here, just notice if you get any increase in your range of motion. So even if it's not just in this initial hold, then after we do all the different angles, when we come back to this position, notice if you have a little more space. And reaching the opposite fingers down. Breathing into the sensation of stretch and taking a note to stay just inside of end range. So if you're really pressing on the stretch past at end range, or even trying to push and force it further, again, the nervous system will not respond in a way that allows more space in the muscle tissues. So it's the combination of moving the joint and breathing in a way that really honors the body and respects the pace of the body to release that really makes these stretches into yoga and into a practice of training present moment attention. So just noticing the feet and the sensation of stretch and the breath. Last breath here, noticing if you've gotten any increase in your range of motion, even if it's just a bit, and then tilt the chin towards the chest. Good. And the stretch is a bit more from the base of the skull and the back, and you can continue to reach through the fingertips. And remembering the grounded action of the feet, and in this position, watching your torso as it fills with breath, noticing your pattern of breath. So over the course of these holds, you could feel maybe every breath you have to check in to retake the actions of the feet, soft bend in the knees, activation of the glutes, broadening of the upper back, and then soften the exhale. So for the neck and shoulders to release, we really have to have this stable foundation in place with the lower body. A lot of times the tension in the neck and the shoulders is to compensate for a lack of activation in the lower body. Good. So with a few more breaths, you could turn a little bit more towards the clavicle. And then looking with the head and the eyes up and back. So finding the end of range of motion and then looking up with the chin to really lengthen from the under the ear, jaw area all the way down the front of the neck. Soft, steady breaths just inside of end range. And then the head might get a little heavier as you feel comfortable. If at any point during this you feel lightheaded or that you've reached your capacity, you could either come back to the original tilting action with the ear towards the shoulder, or come back to your head up. Good. And then we'll all meet back in ear to shoulder in that tilting position. And notice if we've gotten a little bit more spaciousness in the neck, a little bit more range of motion where the ear can come closer to the shoulder. And just remembering that it is with gentle, consistent effort that you'll see an increase in range of motion. Inhale, the head comes up. So being able to do this a little bit each day is best. Okay, on an exhale, bring the chin to the chest and let the back of the neck relax and the head come heavy in the front. Looking down again, watching your torso breathe. Looking down at your feet. And noticing if they're active or if they have a tendency to release and let go. If it feels natural to take an exhale out of the mouth, do so. Just really releasing as much as possible through the upper back. Good, and we'll stretch the arms in opposition. So with the head down, on an inhale, bring your shoulders into extension. So you're going to bring the broadened palms facing towards each other as far back as possible. So you're sort of like you're ready for takeoff. Head is down and the arms and shoulders are back, and you're broad as possible through the chest. Good. On an inhale, lift the head and bring the hands back to your sides simultaneously, and then we'll move in unison those two actions at the same time. Inhaling and exhaling. Good. Keep moving in this way. So now we're syncing up movement and breath for the first time this practice. So it may take a few rounds for your breath and your body to get all synced up with the arms moving at the same time as the head, and then returning to center as you exhale. Good. And next time you move towards end range with both the head and the arms behind you, hold and broaden the palms and reach back. Broad through the chest, long through the back of the neck. One more deep inhale, and on an exhale, coming back to center. Good. Shake the arms out. We'll take a few shoulder rolls, so shoulders come forward as you inhale and up, around and back, and exhaling, come back and down. How much movement in the scapula can you feel? So the shoulders aren't just moving, but the scapula in the back. It's like you're trying to squeeze something between your shoulder blades with how much you're moving through the back body. Steady, gentle breath is your guide. Good. And last time, coming back and around, and then let your shoulder settle at the center of the socket. Good. And broaden through the palms. Remember your feet and all of those actions that we take in standing, which I call the core actions. So the grounded feet, the lengthened legs, the lifting of the front hip bones, the rib cage organized on top of the hip bones, the palms and shoulders broadened, and the head ramped. And then bring awareness to your eyes and the focus of your eyes, and just focusing the eyes down and in front of you, so maybe just below or above the screen that you're looking at. So your eyes aren't right on it, but they're focused. And then bring your palms to face your hips. And on an inhale, bring the arms up overhead to the end of the possible range of motion. Again, not sacrificing the rib cage alignment to get the arms up higher, but finding where end range is with each repetition. Inhaling up, palms broaden, arms lengthened, good, and exhaling down. Going to keep moving in this way, broadening across the foot. Good, and it may even be that one arm has more mobility than the other. Just allow for that with each repetition. You can either keep the one that is able to go further at the same distance as the one that's a little bit more restricted, or you can allow each of them to do what they're capable of and go right to just inside of end range and then come off. Good. Taking any breaks as you need. Good. Next time you bring your arms up overhead, hold for one breath round, really reach up through the palms, strengthen the shoulders, lengthen the side bodies, and then on your exhale, come back down. Good job. Shake the arms out, release. You can step your feet a little bit wider than hip width apart, and we'll sort of release it, shake it all out. Good job. Okay, so now we're going to do a few repetitions of chair. So just as though you were going to sit back into a chair, your hands, they might not naturally do that moving up and forward, but we've been working on that. So as you inhale, your arms are doing just what they did the last time, and your hips are moving back, and then as you exhale, coming back to the start. So some important things are that the hips move back first, the shins stay as straight up and down as possible, and you may feel weight distribute differently on your feet. Try to keep all four corners grounded equally. Good, keep moving in this way. Inhaling up, hips back, good, and then exhaling, coming out. So just noticing where it engages with the arms, where the weight tends to distribute on your feet. Doing your best to really feel that the knees only hinge, so there's no movement in of the knees or movement out of the knees. We're really working to stabilize at the foot and the hip so that the knee only does what it can do, which is hinge back and forth, no side-to-side movements. This doesn't have to be a big range of motion, even if your hips are just moving back a little bit. We're getting everything synced up and really working the stability of the lower body at the same time as the mobility of the upper body. Good. Anytime you need to take a break, do so. Just pause and standing, and you could, if you need to move a little bit, you can take another one of those wide leg twists. Really honoring your body and working in a way that it's as though you could tell you're working towards in range, but you're not pressing too much, not pushing too hard, that you wouldn't be able to do this again tomorrow. Good. So really working, keep this area moving back. Good. Good. Finding that just toggle between the two. Good. Back up. All right, one more time. Inhaling into the chair pose and hold for 1 or 2 breaths, as much as feels comfortably possible. And then coming out. Good, and hands come down at your side. Stepping wide, we'll bring hands to your hips. And we'll just do a few hip circles, releasing any tension through the hips, pressing out, and especially through the side of the hip, pressing forward to really lengthen through the front of the hips, and then out to the other side. And think about tilting your pelvis forward here and tilting your pelvis back in the back. So not only are we circling the pelvis, but we're tilting the pelvis back and forth. Good. You can't really do it wrong if you're feeling movement through the hip sockets and the pelvis. And switch directions. Good, and next time that your hips are out into the right, hold there. Press out through the right side of the hip. Good, and then lift up to center, and then press out through the left side of the hip. And back and forth a few times. Can add the opposite arm reaching up. Back down, and up and across. Good, so lengthening the side body, shifting the hips side to side. Looks nice in unison. So if you're in the chair, say anything except for you're in seated and you're reaching side to side. So in a chair, we're just tilting and reaching. You can use the side of the chair for support. Okay, good. And then one more each side. Right, and then we'll cut all meet and seated. Let's set up here. Good. See your feet. So as we come all to seated, checking in with all of those foundations that are so important for every single posture, and what really bring full presence is through the feet and the grounding of the feet, big toe grounds, pinky toe grounds, nice broad in foot. And then bring your fists in between your knees and see if you can feel the inner leg line activated by squeezing the fists with your knees. And then remove your fists, but keep a gentle activation there in the inner leg line. And then feel your sit bones balanced on the chair, front hip bones lifted, and the glutes are engaged. So by grounding your feet down, you're kind of engaging the glutes, and it lifts up a little bit, broaden through the back, ramp the head. Place your hands on your thighs and let the upper back relax and just settle into seated for a few deep breaths. Just notice the effect of standing posture on your legs. And feel the way that the breath is moving from abdomen into upper back. Good, and then keeping the shoulders really relaxed, bring them down by your sides, palms facing in. And keeping everything below the shoulders still. On an inhale, we'll bring the arms up and look up. And on an exhale, arms down and back to the starting ramping position. Inhale, arms up. Look up. So you're looking between your hands. Exhale, arms down, look down. Or look forward. Have some conscious awareness on your eyes, and the eyes scanning the area and sort of staying, once they catch in between your hands, staying right in between your hands and back down. And the feet are grounded and the glutes are gently engaged. All of that sets your foundation. Good, and next time your arms are up and you look up, pause there. Good, and you can relax the shoulders down as much as you can and keep the gaze up without letting the ribs jet forward. Good, and then bringing your gaze towards your right hand, we'll bring the right hand down and the left hand to the chest and twist towards the back hand. Good, and then inhale, following the right hand back up to center. Exhale, twisting just the thoracic and the cervical spine, not the lumbar, to twist and look back. And inhale back up. Good, keep moving in this way, side to side. Palm is face down, shoulder is stabilized as you twist, inhaling up and exhaling down. Good, so now we're working the rotation of the thoracic spine. So the stability of the lower body is really important to allow for the upper body to mobilize. And the gaze stays towards the hand that you're turning towards. Next time you go to the second side or the left, in our case, and back up. On an exhale, head and comes down to center, hands come to thighs. Let the shoulders relax and the arms relax. Ooh, good job. Lots of stability and strengthening in the shoulders. And after you come into settled, we'll reverse the breath pattern. So now breathe into the upper back and shoulders and chest first, and then breath moves down into the torso. So we're breathing in a high to low pattern. Feeling high, breath moves down, and exhale, soften. So if your heart rate got up from those movements and a low to high breath still feels like it's right for you, stick with that. Otherwise, we'll try to take breath and vitality into this area of the upper back and shoulders by sending breath there. See if any muscle that's still holding and gripping could be softened through your breath and intention. Good. A few more deep breaths in this way. Good. Just noticing the sensations of the body, any feelings that are present with you now, and the thoughts, the quality of thoughts in the mind. So all three of these awarenesses at once is presence. Means your full self is here. And bring the palms next to your side next time you exhale. And now we'll sort of build on what we've been doing. So as you inhale and the arms come up, the torso will come slightly forward and you'll press through the feet as though you were going to stand up. So it's like a reverse chair. You're as if you were standing up out of the chair, and then as you exhale, come back down. So this is a great way to really work towards stabilizing in the knee. As you inhale, come up, keep broadening to the outside edge of the foot and keep the knee really stable, and then exhale, come down. So feel all of the work of the pelvis to lift and stabilize. And the spine stays organized, good. And gaze just kind of is held softly in front as you maintain the ramping action of the head. Good, and then we'll add the action that was towards the beginning of the class. So as you inhale, come in to chair pose. As you exhale, bow the head and extend the shoulders. Inhale, torso comes forward and you press through the legs. Good, strong and stable. Good, and then exhale, come back, tuck the chin, extension through the arms. Good, keep moving in this way. Good. Okay, now we'll add in another action. Bring your arms down to your side and your head to a level and take a few resting breaths. So I'll demo where we're going. So it's all in the chair. So I'm coming into the pose, gaze is up, and I'm in the chair pressing as though I'm going to stand up. And now we'll rotate towards the backhand and inhale back up and rotate towards the backhand and inhale back up. And then exhale, coming back, head comes down and back into extension. So I'll talk you through all of that. Feet are grounded, spine organized, extension through the back of the crown. On an inhale, your arms come up, you press through the feet, gaze comes up, though you're going to stand, but don't quite stand. Exhale, turn towards your hand, and then inhale back up to center. Good, and then exhale, turn towards the other hand. Good. stable knee. So if you need to have more resting on the chair, that's fine. And then inhale back up to center. Exhale, weight comes back onto your hips, chin tucks, shoulders extend. Good, if you need to come back to the starting point and take a few resting breaths, do so. And then we'll move right into it again. So coming into chair, looking up towards the hand, exhaling, rotating right, inhaling up, exhale, rotating left. So you're really taking the amount of weight into the legs that you want, but really focusing on having all this super stable and the rotation happening in the thoracic. And then we come back to center, tuck the chin, extend the arms. Really good. This is your flow. So the movement and the breath connected as one thing. Weight is forward. Exhale, rotate. Good. Gaze towards the back hand. And inhale back up to center. Gaze up towards the hands. Exhale, opposite direction. Good, so whatever amount you're able to bring your arms up overhead or rotate in the thoracic spine is the perfect amount. Notice and watch for yourself trying to press further. Your knee may drop in towards the center, or your stability in your lower body may change. So try to keep all of that stable throughout the full flow. Good, and just know that there's so much grace in this way of moving. So if you mess up, or if you start to feel like you forgot a part of it, just keep moving and flowing with breath. And one on each side, and then back to center, chin down, arms in extension. Good. And then back to center. We'll take a few resting breaths. You can bring your palms onto your thighs, the jaw. With your hands resting at your side, take a few breaths into the upper back and shoulders. So really give the energy of your breath and your attention to this area. We've been working pretty hard. And as you're ready, we'll take one more round of that flow, those flowing actions with the arms and stabilizing of the legs. So inhaling as though you might come up, hands up towards, eyes up towards the hands, and then rotating on your exhale. Good, and back up to the start, and rotating the other direction. Good, all of the low body is stable. Gaze towards the back hand. Good, and back up. And then hands come down, weight comes over your sit bones. And arms in extension, chin towards the chest. Good, and then back into that flow one more time. Inhaling up, weight through the feet, lightness through the pelvis, and then twist. Good. Inhale back up to center. Exhale, twist. Fingertips are the focus of your gaze. Good. Inhale up, and then exhale. Weight over your sit bones. Feet still grounded. Chin towards the chest. Shoulders in extension. Palms reaching back towards each other. And then inhale, lift the head. Bring the hands to your lap. And we'll take a few deep breaths in meditation. So feeling your feet and your alignment. And bring your gaze soften in front, and bring your lips to touch. And we'll feel the touch of breath on the tip of the nostrils cool as you inhale, warm as you exhale. You can take either a breath pattern of high to low or low to high, whichever feels best to you right now. Just being with your breath and with your body for these final few resting moments. Seeing if you can maintain that gentle activation through the core to hold this upright posture, stable lower body, allowing your body to shift or move as it asks as we come to come to a relaxed position. A few more deep breaths. You can allow the eyes to close and bring a focused attention to your sense of hearing. So hearing the inhales and hearing the exhales, as well as feeling the coolness of the inhale and then the slight warmth of the temperature of the exhale after the breath has been warmed by the body. As you inhale, noticing the sensations of the body, the feelings, the emotions present with you now, and the thoughts and quality of thoughts present with you now. And as we move into this meditative way of being, we release any judgment that we have and become the witness of the sensations and feelings and thoughts present with you now. Just enjoying the expansion and contraction of the breath. Seeing if you can soften into an effortlessness. The breath happens and sensation happens and you observe. Okay. If you have a few more minutes to be in this meditative space, please stay here, feeling the warmth and coolness of your breath and connected to sound. This concludes our guided practice. Thank you all so much.